era amor, no era amor. Eso fue lo que dijiste tú, no era amor.
You speak of the Angels' invasion, yes?
Correct. If we allow that city to continue to expand at its current pace, it's all but guaranteed.
That would be troublesome. After all, we're aiming to secure total victory in the next Great Tenma War.
Right. Which is why we should think twice before taking action.
Rimuru Tempest, an anomaly in the world of slime, the founder and king of the Tempest Federation, a demon lord of Octagram, the transcendent slime with the ultimate skill of Void God Azathoth, known far and wide as the Chaos Creator.
He knew that it was just a dream, an unfulfilled wish. Reviving the Star King Dragon, Veldanava, in his entirety was not possible for the Justice King Michael, who was merely a skill. But even so, he couldn't shake the hope. A world without Veldaneva held no value for Michael. Michael's eyes fluttered open. He shook his head gently, trying to rid himself of the lingering emotions. He couldn't help but feel a bit confused at the feeling, as if his emotions had been laid bare for the first time. I thought I wasn't as naive as Rudra, but I was wrong. In the end, that was the lesson. Trust no one and use everyone as pawns. If he had done that from the start, Obera's betrayal could have been avoided. He hadn't because he believed in Feldway. He thought that Feldway's friends, the people he trusted, would also be trustworthy to him. But that was a mistake. When the ultimate skill Salvation King Azrael, bound to his hand, returned to him, Michael realized his error. Michael realized that his body was disintegrating. He was the first being to bear witness to the strongest ultimate skill, Void God Azathoth. And before he had time to face that inescapable reality, "So then, do you have any last words?" Rimuru asked him. Accepting defeat, Michael thought to himself, how could he have formed them in every way? He could not find the answer. That's why he asked a different question rather than sighing in defeat. Who are you?" To which Rimuru replied, puzzled look. "Hey, me, I'm just a slime."
Azathoth, God of Void, is one of Rimuru Tempest's ultimate skills, and the strongest ultimate skill in Tensura. With this skill, Rimuru has complete control over space-time. It was created by Ciel, combining the ultimate skills, Beelzebub and Raphael. ultimate skills, Veldora and Valkyrie were also merged with it. Its sub-skills are Soul Gluttony, Nihility Collapse, Imaginary Space, True Dragon Release, Space-Time Domination, Multi-Dimensional Barrier, Time Wrap, Imaginary Blade, and many more.
Zegion calmly walked up to Dino, who had been thinking long and hard. "Is there anything else you would like to say?" he asked. "Haven't you just been hiding from me all this time to force out my cards? Don't be ridiculous, it's despicable." Of course, Zegion was unconcerned. Dino also realized this, and the conversation ended. Tension flared between the two. Dino knew Zegion's strength. This was an advantage for Dino, however. His trump card had also been exposed to Zegion. In that case, there was no other choice but to go head-to-head.
After several hundred years, there was no sign of Veldanava's return. Feldway wondered why. Then a thought occurred to him. Could it be that Veldanava has abandoned us? Otherwise, there was no explanation for the fact that the supposedly immortal True Dragon had not returned. If he was right, Feldway grieved and hated. Humans on Earth. No, not just humans, but elves, dwarves, beastmen, and even Majin. He hated all demi-humans, that is to say, all of humanity. So he wanted to destroy them. The people who took Veldanava from us don't deserve to live. He would unite the world Veldanava had created with his own hands. And then he would condemn those who have committed the greatest crimes. That was Feldway.
no era amor, eso fue lo que dijiste tú, no era amor.
Veldanova no longer had any interest in the world. It had taken his beloved wife, Lucia, from him, and that alone was a sin beyond comprehension to the god of creation. If you're doing all of this because of Lucia, wouldn't it make more sense to just reincarnate her yourself, Rimuru? The only threat to him asked. But Veldanova explained that it was impossible. Lucia's soul had already reincarnated into countless fragments across different worlds. Because of that, Veldanova found only one way to bring her back, by destroying all worlds themselves. Only then could he reincarnate Lucia into a new and better world in their place. He would destroy everything that he created. After all, that was his right.
I've been asleep long enough, my friend. It is time for you to wake up.
Rimuru Tempest stood against the one who shaped the world itself, Veldanava, the primordial god. Their clash twisted the laws of existence. Every strike, every ripple of power, rewrote the meaning of strength itself. Rimuru pushed forward, fueled by trust, by bonds, by the voice that had always guided him, until the moment everything shattered. Ciel was torn from his soul, ripped away by a force even he could not grasp. The world fell silent. Ciel, Rimuru called into the void of his own mind. No answer. Again, louder, desperate. Ciel. But the silence stayed, heavy, absolute. And in that stillness,
Veldanava stretched forth his hand and tore Rimuru's soul from his body. The world froze. Time itself refused to move. Satisfied, the creator turned his back, already preparing to leave. For what threat could remain once the soul was gone? Then a voice echoed behind him. "You think removing my soul is enough to kill me?" Silence followed. Power surged where nothing should have existed. A will remained, unbound by flesh, unbound by law. "I was a monster before I had a body," the voice continued. "I ruled before I had a throne." The soul did not fade. It multiplied. "You created life to obey the rules," Rimuru said. "I exist beyond them." Veldanava stopped. For the first time since creation, a god hesitated. "If a soul were enough to define me," the voice whispered, "then I would never have reached this far." Varaj, the dragon of destruction, begins absorbing everything. Not eating, but reverting things back into their original state. Veldanava understands he cannot escape. This is his punishment, the final consequence of all the mistakes he made. His loneliness, his selfishness, and the chaos he spread across the worlds. But then Lucia appears beside him. Hand in hand, they accept their fate together, as Ivaraj slowly pulls them in. Lucia comforts him. Veldanava's heart softens. He feels peace for the first time. It's okay, because there is hope for us too. Hope. Elpis. It's a name I've only recently heard. A cheeky slime stood in front of me. The name is... Veldanava suddenly remembered something. A conversation I once had with Lucia. What should we name this baby? When asked this question, Veldanava answered with a happy feeling. That's right, wouldn't Milim be good? Or, why had I forgotten? That was before Milim was born. Veldanava had certainly spoken another name. Now that I remember that, I'm convinced that it was all inevitable. I see. Surpassing his parents had been achieved. As he was about to be assimilated by Ivaraj, Veldanava felt enveloped in happiness once again.